on LinkedIn. You can see us on YouTube. You can see us everywhere. So I'd like to say hello to everybody. Today is a very, very special day for me. In fact, it might be the most special day of all time for me. It's the 2nd of the 2nd, 2022. And for those of you that know me, you will be well aware that my favorite number is 2222, 2222. There's a bit of a story behind this. Back when I was at high school, many years ago, I went on a school trip, and on the way back, we drove past. We were on a train. We went through the train station, and as we got off the train, we saw the sign, the clock, the big yellow clocks that you get in English train stations, and it was at about 22:21, and we waited for the last minute, and then we got a great photo on an old school camera of it all 22:22 with 22 seconds as well. So that was rather marvelous, and since then it's just a number that seems to have followed me and my two best friends around the entire planet, basically. So it's something I even connect with my good friends about, and we send messages to each other. It has just become, time now. But that is something that is super special. So today I've been absolutely buzzing all day because it is a bit special to me today, 2222. And something great about that is I do have a very special guest who's going to call in ever so shortly. I've got her queued up, ready to go live on the TV as well, of course. She's about to call in live to the Podbean. I believe I can see her in there, but sometimes on Podbean, they give you a bit of a funny name, and I think her name might be QFCEUJ. It is her there. I'm gonna invite her in as a guest. That is her. I couldn't tell if Lorraine was QFCEUJZJ. A fantastic name if she were a Scrabble word, that's for sure. So I'm going to invite her in as a speaker and give her a very brief introduction, as she will be introducing herself as well. It is Lorraine from Intrepid English. She's here to join us, and I'm going to hand over to her to introduce herself a little bit deeper than that. Lorraine, hello, how are you?
Hi, Harry. I'm very well, thank you. Thanks for inviting me on today. Yes, to introduce myself, I am the founder of Intrepid English. For those of you who are watching, there's the sign behind me. And yeah, we are an English language school based online, and we empower English learners to speak with confidence, ace their exams, succeed at work, and improve the quality of their lives. So that's our little school. But yeah, it's a bit of a controversial one, Harry, because I'm actually a fan of 1111. So we're in different camps here. I'm afraid I don't have the same feeling for 2222, but I'm here to celebrate with you today.
Oof. I'm not going to say that doesn't hurt. It definitely hurts. That one, it cuts through, it cuts deep. No, I'll be honest. I don't dislike 1111. I just like 2222 more.
Twice
in
as
fact,
much.
I like it so much that everyone watching can, if I put it a bit closer there.
Oh wow!
I can't angle my body properly for that. I haven't been doing enough yoga this week. I do have a tattoo of it, as does my best friend Tommy, who was a guest a little while back actually. He's a music guy. I was going to say teacher, but he's not. He's more like Jack Black in School of Rock. Just a little bit more handsome. Nothing against Jack Black. I think he's brilliant. So you mentioned Intrepid English. I feel a bit like an Intrepid English teacher, not working for Intrepid English. I just feel like I am Intrepid and I'm an English teacher. I think it's a fantastic name, by the way. I remember seeing it a while back, probably on LinkedIn, and just being like, that's a brilliant name. I just kind of like zoomed in on it. I honed in on it. And from then I've been following. Hi there, Bhavna. Lovely to see you. Bhavna is also a previous guest. Lovely to see you again. Yeah, I saw it and I honed in on it, and I think LinkedIn is like my. Do I want to call it my? It's my favorite social network.
Oh yeah.
It's great. And I think from that moment, I saw you and I followed you there as well in a completely non-creepy professional way.
You keep saying that, Harry, but the more you say it, the creepier it sounds.
It does sound creepier, doesn't it? I'm gonna just stop saying it now.
Just stop saying the creepy thing.
Yeah, stop saying that creepy thing.
You don't come across as creepy until you mention it.
Yeah, I'm just gonna stop. I'm giving up on saying that from now on. I'm just gonna go with I saw you on LinkedIn.
There we go. Yeah.
And yeah, I saw what Intrepid English does, and I really like the whole idea behind it and the ethos behind it. But before we get into that ethos, I want to know about you.
Me.
You. So, everybody's heard about my journey as a teacher. What about your journey as a teacher?
Well, I started teaching in Germany. Mainly because it was actually one of the few options that was available to me, considering my German wasn't great when I first moved there. So I took my CELTA course in Hamburg, and then I started to enjoy it only after that. So I kind of accidentally fell into it as a career, but quite soon really started to enjoy myself. So I was working in Germany for 3 years in Cologne, and decided that if my career were to progress at all, I'd need to be back home in the UK, really set up my own business, and build a business, basically, not just teach by myself. So I moved back to the UK, and my lovely parents set me up in their spare room. And I love this story, and my dad always reminds me of this as well. But they made me a desk out of 2 bedside drawers and a door, like an old door. Like, it was really old school. So my internet strength was like 2 as well. So it was really weak. I had 1 student for a month or so, and then it started to pick up a little bit more. And that was in 2013. So things have come a long way since then. And Intrepid English has grown, not just in terms of the students, but also the teachers that work for us. And yeah, we've got a lovely team of teachers who work for us now. And it's my job has evolved a lot in that time, from just being the only teacher to being sort of like a mother hen to all my teachers that work for me. But it's just a generally really enjoyable place for us to enjoy day to day. But also our students say that they really enjoy the atmosphere, because it's a bit like a family in a way. I know that sounds really cheesy, but it kind of is. So yeah, that's my journey in a nutshell.
Oh wow. I like how you went to Hamburg and Cologne, so you've gone to the 2 places that have got things named after them. Hamburgers and obviously, perfume.
Easy to remember.
Yeah. And how's your German now?
Oh, that's one of my teachers. He's just tuned in. It's Thomas. Hi, Thomas.
He likes poetry, doesn't he?
Yes, he does. And he doesn't just like it. He is a poet. I could just talk about Tom all day long. He has the best voice in the world, for a start. He's a wonderful teacher. And Tom actually trained me on live events. He's a seasoned professional when it comes to live events because of all his writing and poetry and stuff. So it's really nice to have him here, just hovering in the background. Thanks, Tom.
He also has an exceptional beard. Now, I'm not gonna rant and rave too much about exceptional beards, but people with exceptional beards tend to be exceptional people. That's just a personal opinion. I don't know where that opinion came from, but it definitely came from somewhere. No, I saw today he mentioned something about poetry. I actually had a guest a little while back, Dave Bowden, the word guerrilla, or word guerrilla, as we would say it in English. And he's also a poet. So I should speak to Thomas as well, I guess.
You definitely should.
Also, if he's got a lovely voice, perfect for radio.
Get him on the show, Harry. He's great. He's
Well,
so
there you
chilled
go.
as well. I tell you what, though, his rule for live events, and unfortunately, I haven't followed this rule today, so fingers crossed it goes well, is to have a glass of wine. So it's actually only 4 o'clock in the afternoon where I am, so I don't have a glass of wine. I have a coffee, so that's going to keep me going for now. But it really, very nice, on brand.
There you go.
It's I have to remember that we're actually on the radio as well as on the TV, and people can't actually see everything as well. So if you're listening on the radio, you should definitely tune in and see us on the TV.
Yeah, I actually have a glass of water as well, to be honest. I'm afraid, much to the disgust of my parents, I don't drink, which also surprises everybody in Spain. They look at you, do you want a beer, Harry? And it's like, no, I don't drink. But you're English. Yes, and that's why not all stereotypes work. But yeah, my parents were big wine lovers growing up. So my way of rebelling against them was for me to say, I don't drink wine. I'm not going anywhere near it. So
that reverse psychology really worked there. Harry's parents are like, I hate wine, but hopefully
he won't
going to work.
Yeah, it didn't work on my brother or sister, I'm afraid. But yeah, it definitely worked on me. I was never a big fan of drinking. So sorry to disappoint you, Mum and Dad. But I'm on the radio now. So they're proud at last. It's only taken 37 years. I love your story about the desk, moving into your folks' spare room and building the desk. It reminds me of when I went out to live in Australia for a year, while I was on my world tour stage of being a teacher before it became a career. And my brother built me a bed out of milk crates and a mattress that he found in the street, which at the time was really grimy, but looking back on it with my environmentalist hat on, I was like, well, that's good that I slept on. Recycling somebody's old thrown away mattress. I mean, yes, sure, that's definitely fine.
And it's a nice way to, even at the time when I was starting out with this makeshift desk that my parents made me, at the time I did have like a realization, or even just kind of a wish or a hope, that this would be the story that I look back on in years and talk about, the rags in the rags to riches story, kind of thing. It wasn't even rags. It was like a really nice spare bedroom in a lovely house, in the south of England, but still I was like, yes, one day I'll use this story in my book.
There you go.
I think you were the same with your crate bed, right?
Yeah, it brought it back, actually. I haven't told that story for a while. I'm not sure if it's the scarring that happened from it, but anyway, it's it was definitely interesting. So you were in the south of England, but you're not anymore, are you?
No, now I'm in Edinburgh.
What made you move?
I actually lived here years ago, and it was like right at the start of my sort of traveling phase. And I fell in love with the place, but it was a very different place for me then. There were loads of great music venues. The festival came every year. Obviously, everywhere's changed a little bit because of the pandemic, or a lot. But Edinburgh now is a very different place. So for me, in the way that I approach it, it's much more about, seeing the nature around, and, architecture and that kind of stuff, and literature and things, because it's a UNESCO city of literature. But yeah, I was here years and years ago, and I thought, this is really great, but this is one of the first places I've lived. Like, I need to go out and see the world. This can't just be it. So I carried on traveling around. But when I was living here before, my sisters came up to visit me, and my older sister stayed here, and she's been here ever since then. So just about a few years ago, when my older sister was about to have my niece, I was like, now's the time. This is a sign. I'm going to go back. It's my spiritual home. And yeah, I'm really, really glad I did. But I'm glad I got all of that traveling out of my system before I came back here. So yeah.
Definitely. I feel that it really helped me sort of traveling around to when it came to settling down. It was easy enough, because I'd seen some things, and it was like, oh, yeah, I can stop now.
Yeah.
I was forced to stop. I didn't really want to stop, but that's a whole different story that I'm sure we'll get into another day. But yeah, then when I stopped, I was like, well, I have seen stuff, so I guess it's okay. And Edinburgh is, I love Edinburgh. I think it's beautiful. And it was the source of one of my very early pronunciation things, because obviously you don't say 90% of English, Scottish, British, Welsh, Irish places the way they're written.
Oh no.
So one of my early obsessions back when I was studying for the Delta in 2013. So back when you had your door desk.
Desk.
There you go.
It's a new word.
There you go. I've invented that one. Nice bit of alliteration. Yeah, I was studying pronunciation, and I got a bit obsessed by pronunciation. But I got really angry with the other people on the course who got, so obsessed with like TEFL talk. When people just, TEFL people have to use all the TEFL words. So I'm going to use all the words. This is how I'm going to teach it. And, they were like, oh, I had a class today, and like they just didn't get it when I was talking about elision. And it's like, well, I don't really get elision. When you talk about how things go together, or connected speech, even like, when you make it a bit like break it down a bit. So I got really upset by all that kind of TEFL talk to do with pronunciation. Hello, Vanessa. Brilliant. She's amazing.
Awesome.
She's one of my marigolds, as is Bhavna, actually, who was on before.
Oh, cool. You got a great crowd here today then, Harry. Hi, Vanessa.
An excellent crowd. I did a storytelling in Rome in her academy the other day, actually, the Gruffalo's Child. But there you go. If you ever want storytellings, you know where to call. Thomas. He's probably better than me.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I remember I got really into pronunciation, but I wanted to break it down and make it like real, and not just all TEFL talk and phonemic script and stuff like that. And Edinburgh was actually my inspiration, because obviously you don't say Edinburgh the way you write Edinburgh. And it kind of led me down this rabbit hole of pronunciation of British town names. And yeah, I created this whole thing.
There are some great town names.
Oh,
great town names, especially up here in Scotland. I can't pronounce them really. It's up there with French for a number of silent letters. It's like, what?
Yeah.
And you hear someone say it, and it's like I had to have no idea just to read it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I remember we went back to the UK once, with my wife. I think we had our daughter then, but we were going to Bristol, where my sister used to live, and we took a wrong turning. And my wife, who is Spanish, but she grew up in Australia, she said, "You need to take the Gloucester Road," and I just fell about laughing. I was like, Gloucester, it's Gloucester, obviously.
Oh, Harry.
Which was awful of me. I shouldn't have done that. I don't think I'd do it again, because not long afterwards we went on holiday to Norfolk, to a place called Snetsham. But the whole time I was like, yeah, we're going to Snettisham. We're going to Snettisham, we're going there. And we got there, and some guy, we were on a tractor ride around the farm, and he's like, "Welcome to Snetsham." And my wife just looked at me and was like, it's not Snettisham. I was like, I guess I deserve that. Yeah,
Touché.
Yeah. That was a year in the making, but I definitely deserved it. So, she got me, which was fair enough, fair play to her. So yeah, pronunciation was something I got really obsessed with, and Edinburgh was my calling for it. But yeah, I find it a very important thing, but something that students really obsess about. I don't think students often realize the difference between pronunciation and accent. Do you have that issue with any of your learners?
Well, in my opinion, there isn't. You see, a lot of English learners, understandably, they think that received pronunciation is the goal, and this is what they want to achieve. But in my opinion, there are so many different accents that are beautiful, and the variety is always the spice of life, in my opinion. But with pronunciation, I really my approach is to, we got a lot of hearts on the screen from that one. From you. Thanks. Yeah, I always like to break down British English into the individual phonemic symbols. Okay, not that I teach the phonemic symbols necessarily, I don't think that's necessary, but I always try to break it down into the individual sounds so that students can really get a sense of things like voiced and unvoiced sounds and longer and shorter vowel sounds, things like that. Only because quite often, if, for example, I'll take a lesson that I had yesterday, a student was trying to say reviews, and he said refuse, which is very similar, but obviously it's a different word. So trying to explain to him, yeah, he's a German guy as well, so the V and the W always quite a sticky point for him. So what we did is we went right back to the individual sounds, the difference between F and V, and once we really broke that down and focused on those two areas, he was much more able to hear the difference, and then he could create the difference in his speech. But I always say, you know, this is one of many, mine is one of many accents, and it's kind of a hybrid. Like, people can't normally place me, but I was born in Coventry, but over the years through travel, my accents got a little bit of a hybrid kind of, I don't really know what it is anymore. And, you know, when I'm teaching lower level students, I'll really slow down and I'll really try to, you know, as they say, my Queen's voice. My friends who've heard me teach and my partner, they call it my Queen's voice. But it's just because it's easier for them to understand. But I do believe that there are many beautiful accents in the British Isles alone. And when students can learn sort of a general pronunciation rule, which really helps them, from there they have the creativity to apply their own personality to the words a little bit more. But yeah, I think that opinion comes from the fact that, you know, when I grew up in Coventry, I had a really thick Coventry accent, and it's quite easy to tease people with that accent. You know, it's not quite Birmingham in terms of bad reputation necessarily for accents, but I would get a lot of teasing for it. So whenever I moved to a different place, I would sort of absorb and you know, adopt the accent there, which is why my voice is now quite hybrid. But that, apparently, according to one of my uni tutors, it's a survival mechanism in a way. You need to assimilate to a place, you need to fit in. So that's why I do that now. But I want to show my students, you know, speak in a way that expresses who you are. If that's very melodic, great. You know, if that's slower, that's fine. If it's faster, make sure it's articulate, make sure you enunciate clearly. But I never say this is the correct way and everything else is wrong. You know, that's just my approach.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, that whole, for me, you know, getting them to, you know, enunciate properly and, you know, use whatever rhythm they like to use, I find it super important. But yeah, I've had so many students come to me saying, you know, I want to sound English, I want to sound American, you know, and I say to them, you don't need to. You know, it's actually much better for you to have your Spanish accent when you're speaking English, because it shows that you've made that effort. You know, I definitely don't sound Spanish when I'm speaking in Spanish. Like, don't get me wrong, I speak Spanish fairly well. Yeah, I do all right, but I've got a foreigner's accent when I speak Spanish. But I like that because, you know, it shows who I am, it shows where I'm from, and it shows that I've made that effort to make a difference and to try and speak with a, you know, a different language. And I think, you know, some people often kind of forget that, and they get lost in this whole, I want to sound English. Like, don't need to sound English, you need to be intelligible.
Yeah, but that's the thing, it's the disconnect between desires and needs there. When I have a student who, they normally start the conversation like that, you know, hi Lorraine, I see you're an English teacher, I want to sound like a native speaker, or I want to be fluent. And there are a couple of things that I will recommend to these students. Firstly, it's really difficult to know when you've achieved those goals, right? They're not specific enough for you to be able to go, yeah, tick, I've done that. So, and secondly, because they're quite lofty goals normally from where the student's at that time, they feel frustrated up until the point at which they have, in their view, achieved this point, which they never will reach it because it's so vague. So what I say to them is, firstly, what do you really need to get out of it? So they say they want to speak like a native speaker, but what they need often would be something like, I need to be understood, or I want to be taken seriously at work, or I want to get a band 9 in the IELTS exam. When you break it down like that, it's much more specific. And then you can set SMART goals. So I don't know if you're a fan of SMART goals, but for those who are listening or watching who don't necessarily know what those are, they stand for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and timely. So whenever a student or a friend of mine or even me, when we're setting goals now, I always try and follow that framework. Specific being, when you have actually achieved it, measurable. I mean, you can look at that from two different points of view, the end goal, sure. Or do you know if you're going in the right direction there, if it's measurable? Am I halfway there yet? Achievable, it's got to be something that you can achieve, right? A goal which is too lofty doesn't help anyone. And yeah, where are we? SMAR, relevant. So it's got to be something in the general direction of where you want to go. So having a goal to improve your German, for example, won't help you if your end goal is to get a 9 in the IELTS exam. And timely, you need a deadline, right? And in my opinion, the smaller the goals, the better. So this is one of the reasons why I'm not really one of those people who sets New Year's resolutions, because I'm setting monthly resolutions instead, or weekly ones, mainly because it's just more satisfying. Who wants to get to the end of the year and be like, oh. It's like, I want that payday every month. I want that feeling of satisfaction every month when I'm like, yes, I've done that thing. But quite often it's, oh, I didn't quite make it. I'm going to adjust next month's goals to line up with that.
Oh, I know that feeling. I have like short, medium, and long-term goals as well. My short-term goals often come along with me, because maybe I haven't done them properly. I want to do that. I kind of want to do that, so I don't. But I like to keep it there on the page with me, so I know that I do still want to do it, but maybe it's not, high up on the list
yet.
Yeah, exactly. But it's a short goal, and I can do it. But yeah, maybe it's not, that high on the list of priorities. So maybe it's not really realistic.
There's also the other factor, which is, it sounds so simple, but it was a really it was an epiphany for me when I realized this. Oh, and sorry if you can see the horrible bruise on my arm, by the way. That's from my roller skating on Sunday, so apologies for that.
I can only see it because you held it right up to the camera.
Oh, really? Okay. Well, that's another story. Yeah, so how many goals do you have which are not really that important to you, but you think you should achieve them? And my wonderful mentor, Alice Thompson, she always says you should stop shoulding all over yourself. I always try to think to myself, do I really want to achieve this goal? Or do I just think I want to achieve this goal? Or do I really want to achieve this goal? Or do I want to be the person that would like to achieve that goal? And then, sometimes I'm like, no. So I'm not going to put pressure on myself to achieve that, if that makes sense.
Move it to one side.
Yes, exactly. But going back to this, the English learners who have these lofty and vague goals, purely because maybe they don't know this SMART goal approach yet. I always like to say to them, do you really want to achieve that goal? Or do you want, the goal of speaking English like a native speaker? Or do you want to speak English but have your personality in there and be able to express yourself clearly and, share your unique opinions and have originality in your work and things like that? And often that will really help them to really define what they want and what they don't really need. Hi,
exactly.
Phil.
Hello, Phil. It's lovely to have you. Lovely to have you watching us for your first time ever. It's my first time doing this ever as well. So it's quite exciting to have you here, and brilliant to have lots of other people here listening in as well. we've got Libby and Dorian, we've got Nicholas, we've got EJ, we've got some people there that I'm not really sure who they are, but yeah, thanks everybody who's tuned in. And do hang about. We're gonna listen to the news now, and we'll be back very shortly. So stay where you are, stay seated, keep your headphones in. We'll be back very shortly, but we're gonna head off for the news.
This episode of Teachers Talk Radio has been made possible with support from Witherslack Group, the UK's leading provider of SEN education and care. They're here to support you too through an ever-growing offer of free resources, including webinars, podcasts, articles, and events aimed at supporting teaching professionals like you. Visit their website at www.witherslackgroup.co.uk to find out more.
Are you looking to take your phonics practice forward? Then Little Wandle Letters and Sounds Revised is the programme for you. Created by two schools with an excellent track record in phonics, Little Wandle Letters and Sounds Revised will help all children become readers and ensure no child is left behind. The programme offers complete support for your phonics teaching, alongside classroom resources and fully decodable readers from Collins Big Cat. To find out more, follow @LettersSounds on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram, or join a free briefing by visiting littlewandlelettersandsounds.org.uk.
Whatever learning looks like this year, bring lessons to life with Nearpod. An exciting new addition to the Renaissance family, Nearpod offers real-time insights into student understanding through interactive lessons and videos, gamification and activities, all in a single, easy-to-use platform. To help kickstart the new year, we're offering all primary and secondary schools in the UK and Ireland full free access to Nearpod for the whole spring term. So, no matter what 2022 brings, Nearpod makes switching between in-class and remote teaching simple. Visit www.renlearn.co.uk/Nearpod and sign up for your free trial today.
If you're listening to this, then we know we share one thing in common: a passion for the type of outstanding education that every child deserves. That's what makes us the leading provider of specialist education and care. We need people like you to help us achieve even more. With us, you'll be given all the resources and support you need, offered a clear path to career progression, and be rewarded with some of the best salaries and benefits the industry has to offer. We are Witherslack Group. If you'd like to find out more, we'd love to hear from you. Visit www.witherslackgroup.co.uk/careers and be part of our future.
This is Teachers Talk Radio, and this is Teachers Talk Radio News with Gail Glenn.
In Wales, the Minister for Education and the Welsh Language, Jeremy Miles, has announced extra school sessions for learners. In a trial, over 1,800 learners will receive 5 hours of extra activity per week over a 10-week period. The Welsh Government has drawn on international models and proposals made by the Education Policy Institute, and the trial is focused on supporting disadvantaged pupils and schools particularly affected during the pandemic. Jeremy Miles said, "We know from research that young people can gain in confidence and well-being from this approach, especially disadvantaged learners. Programmes which provide enriching and stimulating additional sessions and support learners to re-engage with learning can have a greater impact on attainment than those that are solely academic in focus. The trial is a great opportunity to gather further evidence on how we use and structure time at school and how that might evolve in the future. We will be learning how those additional sessions might improve well-being, academic progression and increased social and cultural capital. As we move forward, we will continue to support schools with even stronger community engagement so that we deliver on our mission to tackle the impact of poverty on educational attainment and achieve high standards for all. In England, the government has announced 55 education cold spots that have been identified as part of the Levelling Up agenda. Areas such as Walsall and Rochdale, where education outcomes are weakest, will be targeted for support, with teachers offered a Levelling Up premium to improve retention. According to a report in The Independent, schools in the education investment areas, which are judged less than good by Ofsted in successive inspections, could be moved into multi-academy trusts under the plans. A government release states that education will be at the heart of the major new reforms, set to give every child and adult the skills they need to fulfil their potential, no matter where they live. As part of the White Paper plans, the Department for Education will offer retention payments to help schools keep the best teachers in the highest priority subjects. This has been your latest Teachers Talk Radio News with Gail Glenn.
This is 2 Minute Tech with Steve Woods, your tech briefing on Teachers Talk Radio.
Hello, as we approach Safe Internet Day next week, it's the 8th of February, if you didn't know, I'm going to take a look at keeping yourself safe as a teacher. I'm not going to go into your digital footprint or how you use social media. That's been covered in your safeguarding training, no doubt, and should be common sense. There is, however, a real grey area when it comes to teachers and using their phones in school. Before I start, all schools should have a policy on mobile phones, and you should have read it. I suggest, if you're not sure what it is, then you find out. There is DfE guidance for searching, screening and confiscating for pupils. For staff, policies in schools range from SLT having different rules to other staff so they can be contacted, to phones must be switched off or on silent when pupils are present. Some are even introducing a smartwatch policy as they become increasingly more popular. The first step to keeping yourself safe is to make sure you know what is expected in your school, as it's the individual schools that decide and there is no official guidance. The next step is a choice. Images, still or moving, are a great way to evidence work and to feed back to pupils. If your policy allows it, using your phone is the simplest way, as it's always with you. To give a real example, a PE teacher at a match doesn't need to remember to take the school camera and probably has a better camera on their phone anyway. But here's the dilemma. Should teachers have pictures of children on their personal phones? Again, school policy will dictate this, and parents will have signed a form saying they give permission or not, so you're covered to take the picture, but the question still stands, should it be done on a personal device? This is where I feel the need to keep ourselves safe lies. How long do you keep the images on your phone? Are they automatically backed up into your personal cloud? How do you transfer from your device to the school storage? What if your phone's lost or stolen? I'm not here to provide an answer. I just want you to think about keeping yourself safe. If you take images on a school device, you avoid all of these issues. It may be a little more effort, but in the rare event of an allegation, it's a lot simpler to investigate. Please think about your use of personal devices in school, and if your policy isn't keeping up with what you're doing, consider raising it. For a visual version of this episode, check out the TT Radio 2020 Twitter feed. I'm Steve Woods, and that was 2 Minute Tech.
2 Minute Tech with Steve Woods, your tech briefing on Teachers Talk Radio.
We are back. We are live again. That quick one there about mobile phones at the end there. It is an interesting area. I don't know, in terms of schools especially, but as a teacher, I would always encourage my students, particularly my teenage students, to use it in class, particularly for learning English, because I wanted them to find, that the benefits of using it in class, not, sit there on WhatsApp or whatever. But that was something I often encouraged in my classes, which got me into a bit of trouble in a few academies because there was a strict no phones policy. But anyway, how do you feel about phones in class, Lorraine?
Well, my student base is different to yours, it seems, or different to the way yours was. A lot of my students are business English students, so there needs to be a certain amount of flexibility there. because a lot of them are super busy, they've got a lot going on, you know, often they've got family who might need them, but generally it might be the case that they have to take an urgent business call during the lesson. And I honestly don't mind that at all. One of the great things about our students being sort of autonomous and having, you know, they buy their own lessons, so they value them. And that means that normally for them, because it's an enjoyable hour in their day, they kind of silence everything else, and it's me time for them, you know. So it's not really that much of a problem, but I can imagine it would be quite difficult to get people, teenagers in your case, to focus on the lesson material and not all of the other dings that are coming through, you know. What was that like?
Well, it was all right. I think it's actually now getting slightly easier because of the amount of tech that there is. You know, stuff like Nearpod and Padlet, and the amount of apps there are available that are focused on your lesson. That, you know, they can really help. I do remember, however, when I had a business student, and it was very much like that you're saying. He said, "This is my yoga. You know, I come here and I tell, like, you know, I'm unavailable. This time I'm completely unavailable to anybody. So my phone is off." And it's like, well, I like that. I like that.
Yeah, that's
Um,
nice. Yeah.
What I also like is the Intrepid English, the statement that you have, the ideals that you have behind Intrepid English. And we're talking, well, the title is Empowering English Learners. I know you do a lot more than only empower. I know that's not an only. It's quite a massive.
It's one of many passions of ours. Yeah.
Exactly. Now, what we talked about before with the whole accent thing. I think that's one of the early things for me when I'm trying to give students confidence, is to become comfortable with themselves and comfortable with the way they speak. So for me, that's one of the early steps. But I'd like to know what you've got to say about empowering learners.
This is a huge area. I could go on all day, Harry.
It's massive.
So, it's huge. So as a tip of the iceberg, and I hugely recommend that people read further into this if they want to. There are many elements of empowering learners that we try to embody in our lessons as well at Intrepid English. So we're mostly based in the UK. We are teachers who are, well, excellent English teachers. Let's say that's one thing that we've all got in common there, because we're passionate. Most of the time we're highly qualified. Well, sometimes we're native English speakers, but that's not necessarily a given with Intrepid English teachers. We've got amazing teachers who, you know, have learned many different languages and learned to teach English more thoroughly than many native English teachers, for a start.
For sure.
Yeah. So we're quite an empowering place. We like to empower one another. We've got a really nice atmosphere of, you know, open and honest communication in the school, so we can make mistakes and learn from them, and it's okay. You know, it's not, you're not going to get in trouble, kind of thing. And the teachers that I've hired because they're our kind of people. You know, they care about things. They don't want to have a sort of authoritarian atmosphere in the classroom. They want to help students to communicate and express themselves in their way, you know. So empowering to me is so much more of a deeper word than just helping. Good teachers help students, you know, they really want to assist the students in their learning journey. But empowering them means that student, for example, knows that they've got a team of people, a supportive community of people that want them to win, want them to succeed. You know, their English teacher will talk with them each week if they have a weekly lesson, and see how they can personalize the lessons to suit that particular student. You know, unfortunately, a lot of English schools in the past, ones that I've worked with and for, there was a strict curriculum. It was just about, you know, it was transactional. It was about, you know, booking the hours in, you know, billable hours and things like that. And it didn't care about the students' success. The teachers weren't fostering that kind of atmosphere where students can really enjoy the lessons as well as thrive in them, you know. So it was something that I've been quite passionate about in my personal life for a long time as well. I'm one of these people who likes to do charity fundraisers and stuff like that. It's always been a part of who I am. And when I started working with my business mentor, Alice, I was talking to her about who I am and what Intrepid English is, you know, including all of the teachers that work for us. And, you know, she said, you've got this really big part of your personal life, your personality, which is raising money for charities. You know, why isn't that part of the business model? And I thought, well, I don't know. In a way, I just felt like it was a separate thing, you know. And she was like, it's 100% part of who you are. And it's something that would be very beneficial to the students if you talk about this kind of thing. I think that you can be your full authentic self at work and talk about your passions, talk about, you know, the different causes that you're passionate about. Yes, exactly. You know what I'm talking about, Harry. Exactly. As soon as she said that, I was like, yes, this makes perfect sense. You know, so spoke to the teachers about it, and I said, you know, I really want us to focus more on doing good in the world, not just teaching good English lessons, but doing good in the world. And you know what? Since I said that, since we've started to go down that route, there have been so many amazing conversations, amazing moments, great things that have happened because I am being my authentic self at work. And it's something that the teachers also are really, really passionate about in different ways. So empowering students can mean different things to different students, of course. A lot of our students have talked about this feeling of dread on a Sunday night or on a Monday morning, you know, when they're thinking about going to work, and they love their job, but they know that their English skills are a barrier to their success and to them doing their job really well. And it breaks my heart to know that people are really struggling like this, because, you know, we've all had those jobs that we hate, and on the Sunday night and you're just like, oh God, how has the weekend gone already, you know? So I was like, well, we can do something to help you with this. You know, we can support you here. So we have been training a lot of students on business English, but not just, you know, these are negotiation skills.
Yeah,
but
not just open the book. Here are some set phrases.
Yes,
this is business.
Exactly. Yes,
Go business.
this like a strange, vague entity, which is business. You know, we wanted to provide them with, you know, support, but also useful, helpful tips, things that they can implement immediately, things that are going to make them feel excited about that negotiation. So it could be language, it could be pronunciation, but it's also having someone in your corner who's like preparing you for this moment. They know what they're talking about, and they're not just preparing you to have a negotiation, but they're preparing you to do really well in that negotiation. You know, to add value, to get something out of it, not just be a business person, but like really make a difference, do a good job, you know. So after teaching a lot of students this way, you know, we realized that it would actually be really quite beneficial for us as well, for us to reach out to the employers and say, look, we're empowering your employees here. We can help you to do that. So we launched a new service earlier this year called Employers Who Empower. And this is a completely different ball game for us. So normally we're one-to-one lessons and a few group classes as well. So this is a whole new area, but it's been so well received already. We've got 3 groups this year who have joined us and are just doing fantastically, and yeah, we're really looking forward to seeing where it goes. So yeah, we're taking steps forward to empower more and more people as we go along. So yeah,
what I really love from what I've seen about what you guys do, and you know, some of the feedback you've got, is when you do have those kind of individual lessons. I've seen with so many like business classes and business teachers, so many, like I've seen someone running into a staff room and, you know, grabbing a textbook and photocopying the present perfect, and then going into the class and say, right, I'm going to do the present perfect today with them. Like, so does your student want that? Like, is that what your student wants, or is that what you feel like doing with your student? And what I really love from what I can see that you guys do is you care about your students and you teach them what they need, like not just, as you say, with the language that they need, but with everything that they need. And it seems like you're not just English teachers, you're English kind of language coaches as well, not just, I don't want to say just English teachers as well, because that sounds like I'm belittling English teachers. English teachers are the greatest. They're amazing. I love all of them, especially sustainability focused ones. But something that I want to draw on about the kind of the empowerment vibe. A lot of people think that empowering your students is just giving them confidence. And it's something that I've seen with the charities I work with. I work with Kids Against Plastic, and I see how they are empowering, the kids that work with them. For example, yesterday my daughter gave a 40-minute presentation at school about single-use plastics. She's 8. That's not just
the proudest moment of your life, I bet.
It's up there. That, and when she learned how to do the monkey bars, like those are like two of the moments I've been really proud. It's definitely up there with it. But and it's not just about confidence. Yes, confidence is part of it, but it's more than just having confidence. I'm confident to speak English, but empowerment is more than just giving confidence.
Yeah, and you'll like this. I've prepared by printing out a little quote from one of my biggest inspirations, the incredible Bell Hooks. So yeah, it's a few lines long, so if you just bear with me a second, but it perfectly articulates exactly why I think empowering students is so important. And you will get this because I think you will define yourself as one of these people. So, to educate as the practice of freedom is a way of teaching that anyone can learn. That learning process comes easiest to those of us who teach, that also believe there is an aspect of our vocation that is sacred, who believe that our work is not merely to share information, but to share in the intellectual and spiritual growth of our students. To teach in a manner that respects and cares for the souls of our students is essential if we are to provide the necessary conditions where learning can most deeply and intimately begin. That's Bell Hooks, everybody.
100%. I agree with every word. It's so much more than just information. Information is an important part of it, obviously, but it's so much more than that. And I found my teaching has become so much more enriched since it's part of me. I teach English. I do teacher training for all sorts of different things. Hybrid teaching, online teaching, all of these different teacher training sessions. But I try and involve some form of sustainability with all of it. Even if it's just a few seconds here and there, I try and kind of raise that aspect in all of my classes, even if it technically has nothing to do with it. I like to kind of try and raise that awareness. And I know that my teaching has improved so much since, and I don't want to say I didn't care before, because I definitely did care before, but I really care now, not just about the students learning, but about what I'm teaching as well. And it's not just, here we go, let's go. We're going to do the third conditional today. Third conditional, which for quite a long time I did think was the setting on the air conditioning, where it does the wavy thing. I was like, that's what the third conditional is, right? And yeah, that brings me back to that whole thing about, that brings me back to the whole thing you mentioned about some native teachers. I'm going to do inverted commas for that. Some English speakers who have the mother tongue of being English don't really have a clue about a lot of how to teach, particularly grammar. So, and that kind of third conditional thing reminds me of that. But that's me just going off on a tangent. Something that I often do. Yeah, I really do.
I love a good tangent.
I have a habit of tangenting. Again, I don't know if that's a word. It is now.
It is now.
I've just invented it. Gonna type that one up. That's going to be in the Oxford English Dictionary next year. Word of the year, tangenting.
And it can be your tagline as well. Harry Waters, I don't know if that's a word. It is now. Probably the worst tagline for an English teacher ever.
Yeah, it probably would be actually, but I'm going to stick with it anyway. That's going to be my new LinkedIn thing.
I need a little credit there as well, please.
I always credit. My wife's a photographer, you see, so when I'm making my materials and stuff, I do always credit photographers and so on. Although I was creating a PowerPoint today because I'm doing a conference for Oxford University Press actually on March the 4th, and they sent me a thing back saying you need to credit this photo, and I was like, I took that photo, like it's literally my photo, and you have to put a credit on there, and I was like, yes. Now I can put on my LinkedIn, I can put photographer as well because I've got my own photo credit, in the talk.
Wow, that's awesome.
It's a photo of some secondhand shirts, like it's not a good photo.
It counts. It counts, Harry. It's a win. Take it.
Exactly. I'm a photographer now. It's hello, mum. I'm on the telly, on the radio, and I'm a photographer. Brilliant.
Oh, brilliant.
That seems like a nice segue. We're gonna shoot off to hear a word from our wonderful sponsors. Stay where you are, glued to your chairs, or if you're doing the washing up, your headphones glued to your ears still. We'll be back in just a moment.
This episode of Teachers Talk Radio has been made possible with support from Witherslack Group, the UK's leading provider of SEN education and care. They're here to support you too through an ever-growing offer of free resources, including webinars, podcasts, articles, and events aimed at supporting teaching professionals like you. Visit their website at www.witherslackgroup.co.uk to find out more.
Are you looking to take your phonics practice forward? Then Little Wandle Letters and Sounds Revised is the programme for you. Created by two schools with an excellent track record in phonics, Little Wandle Letters and Sounds Revised will help all children become readers and ensure no child is left behind. The programme offers complete support for your phonics teaching, alongside classroom resources and fully decodable readers from Collins Big Cat. To find out more, follow @LettersSounds on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram, or join a free briefing by visiting littlewandlelettersandsounds.org.uk.
Whatever learning looks like this year, bring lessons to life with Nearpod. An exciting new addition to the Renaissance family, Nearpod offers real-time insights into student understanding through interactive lessons and videos, gamification and activities, all in a single, easy-to-use platform. To help kickstart the new year, we're offering all primary and secondary schools in the UK and Ireland full free access to Nearpod for the whole spring term. So, no matter what 2022 brings, Nearpod makes switching between in-class and remote teaching simple. Visit www.renlearn.co.uk/Nearpod and sign up for your free trial today.
If you're listening to this, then we know we share one thing in common: a passion for the type of outstanding education that every child deserves. That's what makes us the leading provider of specialist education and care. We need people like you to help us achieve even more. With us, you'll be given all the resources and support you need, offered a clear path to career progression, and be rewarded with some of the best salaries and benefits the industry has to offer. We are Witherslack Group. If you'd like to find out more, we'd love to hear from you. Visit www.witherslackgroup.co.uk/careers and be part of our future.
Hello, welcome back everybody. Thank you very much. We're now into the final straight here. I just want to say this has been super lovely so far. Phil Longwell has credited a photo today he took from some slides in case students wondered about the source. It is very good practice, Philip. Absolutely 100%. I can now currently see myself on screen. I'm not sure where Lorraine's gone. There we go. That's better. Nobody's going to be complaining now that I do want to see that bearded weirdo for all that long. didn't want to look at him anymore. Lorraine is also back. So we are into the final straight, the last half hour, the final countdown, as it were. And yeah, so Lorraine, thank you
Harry.
again for joining me here. I just have to say it's been a lovely experience. Like, it genuinely has. I knew it would be, obviously.
Well, yeah.
Goes without saying, of course. And I'm just going to say,
remember the first time we chatted, we were just like straight away, and I was like, yeah, he's in my tribe now.
there you go. I like that. I like your tribe. When I'm over in Edinburgh, I'll say hi. Or I think I got the pronunciation wrong. And hi to everybody who's here in the studio. We've got Jane, Doreen, and Nathan are here. Tom, yourself, and then we've also got Many MKKX, a name obviously that has been given by Podbean. Big thanks as well to Michelle, who has downloaded Podbean today. Michelle Morgan, one of my marigolds in the ELT industry here in Spain. Somebody who has been around since the very beginning of my my teacher training career. She was at my first ever talk back in 2012, I think, and an entire decade ago, and a full head of hair ago. And she's tuned in today. So thank you very much for that, Michelle. Props to you. And I have retweeted an applause for you on Twitter as well. So back to Lorraine, and well, not just Lorraine, more Intrepid English and your ideals, your mission statements. So we talked about empowerment before the break. What are your other ideals in your mission statement? I've got them written down here, so I could say them.
Yeah.
But I thought I'd hand it over to you because your business, your idea. I don't want to steal your glory.
Oh, too late, Harry. It's gone.
Sorry, it's mine now. I'm gonna celebrate my changing.
Yeah.
There we
I
go.
have no different hat. It's exactly the same as the previous hat.
It's slightly different. It's a bit wider, and the colour's slightly different.
Okay, added value there. Well done. That was worth the costume change.
There you go.
Those people who are listening on audio only are like, "What? I missed the hat change. What's going on?" You can watch it later.
Exactly. Watch back.
Yeah. So personally and professionally, I think that growth mindset is something that I've worked on a lot myself, and something that I always try and instill in my students if it doesn't exist already. And when I say growth mindset, for those who don't know, the wonderful Carol Dweck, she's a psychologist, I think, in America, who described the benefit of children and other learners understanding that where they are is okay, and they can move forward. Okay, so the whole idea of yet, maybe don't know that yet, but it's, on the way. Removing the negativity that comes with learning something is so important. Often people beat themselves up because they're not perfect yet. Well, newsflash, nobody's perfect. And it's an impossible standard to try and reach for. So I always try to tell my students, be kind to yourself where you are and move forward. We can move forward together. So we always try and take students forward step by step to where they need to be. So that's growth mindset. We've talked about empowerment already. And the others are community, personalization, and inclusivity. So when it comes to learning anything, you succeed a lot better, a lot easier if you've got a group of people around you who are hoping that you succeed, whether that's
Absolutely.
the teachers or the students, right? I mean, I was just thinking before we came on live here today, Harry. Today alone, I've used LinkedIn, where I met you and a load of lovely people, amazing people. And I was just I had a moment of appreciation for all the lovely folks that I've met on LinkedIn, which I never ever expected to meet so many great people on there, right?
He tagged me and really gave me a big smile. It was lovely.
Really
It was lovely. Did nearly cry.
I was like, yeah, guys, I'm feeling the love. And, but I've also used LinkedIn, I've used Strava. I've also talked to my my friends at an online, it's a group that I joined. I don't want to call it a networking group because it's so much more than that. The tagline is so it's Move Online, and the tagline is Making Better Human Beings. And it's just such a fulfilling, wholesome crowd of people. We meet for 90 minutes every week online and chat about work maybe, but also life, relationships. You get advice, you give advice, you just chat about stuff. And there's a real focus on, positive mental health, growth, personally and professionally. And I just think like my life is so much richer having those various support networks around. But also I give value to them in my way. And that is also fulfilling to me, So I just, community is something that's, I think, beneficial for everybody, but it's
That's
something that we really built into our school.
Now Michelle's watching on YouTube. Hello, Michelle. Applause for watching on YouTube as well. Yeah, that was the whole marigolds thing. It's all about, these communities. So, where you plant marigolds, they help things around them, basically. And, your marigolds online are the people that help you grow. Now, I have to say that, one of the benefits of what's come out of the pandemic, I have felt a much bigger connection with people online. Beforehand, I had my networks. I knew people online. There was this, that, and the other. I think being almost forced into it, it's grown massively. And that idea of community to have in a class, in your work, just in your life, if you don't have it, then you can't grow. Like it's just impossible. And what you mentioned about personalization is something that in the world of sustainability is super important. If it's not, a lot of people aren't going to care if you're just, talking about the polar bears. Okay, it is a shame that the polar bears are dying, but guess what? Never seen a polar bear, probably never will, don't really care. So personalizing it and making it, about them and about where they're from and local is likely to make people care more. People should care about the fact that, climate emergency, planets coming to an end, but often they don't. But when you make it about them and personalize it, it's super important in terms of, the environment, but in terms of learning, it's such a key. It's so, I even lifted my foot up then. You can't see, but I lifted my foot up. That's how key it is.
He means it, guys. He means it.
There were hands and foot gestures. It was crazy.
Yeah, 100%. I think so a lot of students as well, they've been to language classes in the past where they are one of 8 students, for example, and there's a curriculum which has been designed by someone who's not even a teacher there, and it's just disconnected from where they are. They can't, it's hard to be passionate about something when you don't really care. Like when I was at school, I hated languages. I mean, it was terrible. I actually was so bad at French that my lovely stepmom, who means the world to me and was saying it from a place of love, she was like, Laurie, just forget it. Just focus on something that you can do. All right. And I was like, oh, okay, wow, that's tough love, but it worked. I mean, I'm not talking about English there. I was really passionate about English then. I have been all the way through my life. Excuse me. But yeah, that learning, French verbs and German connotations of, oh my God, it was just torture. So I didn't really understand then. I thought, I'm never going to need German. And then, fast forward years later, living in Germany going, okay, maybe I should have paid attention in my German class at school. But then miraculously, I was learning German and it was easier, much easier for me. It was enjoyable because I could apply it to my life immediately. And I just thought to myself, right, okay, teaching English needs to have the same thing. You can't give someone a textbook that 100,000 people have also, looked at and studied from and expect them to be passionate about it. You need to apply that to their daily life. as well as all the other lessons that you're teaching through English, like sustainability and environmental activism and things. So yeah, personalization is super, super important, but it's also the key to having fun in a lesson.
100%, 100%. Like
Mhm.
now, when I was at school, I was good at French. Well, I got an A in French. I definitely didn't cheat in the exam. Almost certainly didn't. But no, I was good at French apparently, because I'd go to France on holiday with my folks, and basically I could count to 20 and I knew how to give people directions. So back when I was doing my GCSEs back in a long time ago, 2000 I think, I didn't really need a lot more than that. And some friends of mine who live around the corner, they had a French visitor come and stay with them the other day. I went round there, I was like, yes, here we go, get to practice my French. And I was just like, well, I could ask for a beef sandwich. I don't eat meat, but I could ask for it. And I was like, I can tell him to turn left, and I can tell him there's a monkey in the tree. But that's about it. I was like, it's completely irrelevant. Like, and none of it, of what I'd learned was ever relevant. And so, it didn't really stick. It was never important. So as soon as I finished at 16 years old, it was like, I've done that, I passed the exam, I'm gone now. And that it can't be like that with languages. It can't be like that. You need to have that connection with it. Look at that.
Exactly.
We said
Yeah,
connection at the same
vibing, Harry.
time. Brilliant. And the last core theme of yours, the last part of your mission statement, is about inclusivity, isn't it? Now, I want to hear about something exciting that you're doing about inclusivity.
Okay, well, personally or professionally,
Well,
because there's loads of things going on. Okay, so one of the big projects that we've got coming up at the moment is we're producing an app. It's a language learning app, and as well as being developed with Green IT, I know you'd like that one. It's also being designed in the most inclusive way. So we always try and be as inclusive as possible in our classes. So we have a range of different materials to suit each learning style. If, for example, we have a student who really likes to have listening materials, we've got a lot of podcasts. We've also got audio courses as well. But for people who don't like listening to things or can't hear, we also have transcripts and blog posts and a lot of written material online as well. We are working towards being more inclusive, but we've just registered as a supporter of the Sunflower Initiative. Now, this came about by someone, a lovely person, again, that I met on LinkedIn. His name's Spencer, and he is deaf. And he approached me and said, Lorraine, I want you to write my book. So I was like, well, I've never written a book before, Spencer, but I'd love to help you in any way I can. So we were chatting a lot about inclusivity. It was really, really valuable time for me when we were talking about this, because I just thought there's a lot I need to learn, which is an uncomfortable feeling, but it precedes a period of growth, right? So I've learned a lot since meeting him. And he told me about the Sunflower Initiative, which is, I don't really know how to describe it. It's an initiative where people with hidden disabilities can signal that they have a hidden disability. They may need some help. It might be something like, I'm deaf. Can you please let me see your face as we're talking so I can lip read? Or maybe it's, I'm autistic. Can you be patient with me? Or I've got a learning disability, that kind of thing. But it's not just about the physical badges that people can wear as well. It's a movement to try and make things more inclusive. So registering as a business, even though we're online, we don't have bricks and mortar premises that people can visit, we're still an inclusive space. We're a safe space for them to come. They can tell us if they've got any specific learning needs, and we'll adapt accordingly. So that's one area that we're trying to be inclusive with. We're also we're including that in our lessons as well. So when we teach business English. You and I both have a bit of a thing about business, this vague entity. But when we're teaching business English, we teach not only phrases and things that will help students, but we teach them how to include one another. We teach them how to advocate for themselves and how to include other people as well who might be excluded. We also have a course on our website for diversity and inclusion, which teaches people not only sort of what it is, but why it's important and how to apply it. So yeah, in a way, we are trying to help students to be better versions of themselves, you know, in English. Of course, English is the tool that we use to do that. But I think now is the time that people are looking for more. They want to, as you said, it's the silver lining of the pandemic. People want to be able to come to work as their whole selves. They need to be able to express themselves and care about the topics that they care about. So we really want to include that in the whole process. So inclusivity all the way through there.
I love that. Come to work as their whole selves. That's, I think that that encapsulates inclusivity really nicely. It's a thing that's very difficult to encapsulate because it is so wide reaching. I remember a few shows back in November, Tyson Seaburn came on who literally wrote the book on how to write inclusive materials. And you know, I've been trying to grow with it as well because there are a lot of things that I didn't know. You know, at first for me, you know, when I thought inclusivity, it was ethnicity, gender, and sexual orientation, and these different. That was it. And then I was just thinking, oh no, hang on. There's actually so much more. Inclusivity is literally everybody who isn't included. You know, and it was, you know, a bit of a stark realization for me to kind of realize that and think I've got so much to learn. That's one of the wonderful things about, you know, there are so many webinars that you can go to, so many articles you can read, and just knowing that you don't know is something that I don't know, I found really helpful as a teacher in general. You know, you don't know everything. It was hard to deal with at first, being a teacher, not knowing everything. Also being at Waters, you've never met my family, but if you ever meet my mum and dad, you'll understand. My mum, you know, she's not always right, but she's never wrong.
Right.
Which is something I was brought up with. So for me, it was really difficult to kind of adjust and realize, do you know what? I'm not right. I'm not necessarily wrong, but I don't know. I've got no idea. I don't need to have an answer for that because I don't know.
I think that's the most important thing, an important skill that a teacher can have is to say, oh, I don't know the answer to that, but I'm going to go and find out. Or, oh, that's really interesting. I haven't really thought about that before. Let me find that out for you. You know, saying, because we expect students to make mistakes. It's absolutely a part of learning. If you can't make a mistake in a classroom, then you're not speaking English. You're not speaking a language that you're learning. So it's really important that we model that as teachers and say, you know, I'm not perfect. I've made a mistake, or I don't know that thing, you know, but I'm going to find out for you. We're going to solve that problem together, you know. And if you're teaching online and you've got the right type of student, you can Google it and you can find out right there and then. Oh, there's a really interesting resource there, you know. But going back to what you were saying, Harry, about learning about inclusivity. So one of my dear friends, and luckily one of the people who's been on our podcast as well, Alyssa Ordu, she's a diversity and inclusion consultant in London. And she and I had a lovely, lovely conversation. We've had many, many lovely conversations about this topic. But the way she put it, and it makes perfect sense to me, is that there are policies in place. There are quotas out there to help companies and institutions be more diverse. But if the inclusivity isn't there to include people, then it's just a tick box, really, you know. So it's having people at all levels of the hierarchy, all levels of the decision-making process, with different worldviews, with different perspectives, whether that be from the point of view of someone with a disability, or the point of view of someone, a person of color, or a person who, has a particular religious belief. It can't all be, decisions can't be made by one small subsection of the population. So if people are interested in learning more, there's a really great blog post on the Intrepid English website where they can listen to our conversation, read it as well as a transcript there. But there are loads and loads of resources at the bottom of that blog post where people can sort of go on a bit of a journey, a little internet rabbit hole, but a wholesome one, to learn more about this really, really important topic.
And how can people find the Intrepid English website?
Intrepidenglish.co.uk. That was
There you
smooth,
go.
Harry.
See that? See that? Now,
Professional.
Ariful has asked a question. He said, what would you say about watching movies in learning English? Now, I had a bit of a rant. Surprisingly, I don't like to give parental advice to people. As a parent, I discovered how to do things, and nothing annoyed me more than someone saying, "Oh, you should do that with your daughter. You should do that." But the other day, as I mentioned, the French family that came to visit, the mum is English and the dad's French, and they spoke to their daughter, who's 2.5 now, in French, and all of their TV was in French, and all the books they read were in French. And I just said, I'm really sorry. I don't want to be someone to tell you how to raise your daughter, but it's so much easier if you teach her English now. If you get her into watching TV in English now, so even if you're not speaking to her in English, but if all she's ever watching on TV is in English, all she ever knows is TV in English, it will make such an enormous difference to her understanding, to her speaking. So for me, watching movies, watching TV series in English is an absolute 100% yes.
Yeah, that's interesting. And a lot of people attribute the Dutch capacity for English from a very young age is because their TV is in English, often with English subtitles, or at least they have English subtitles with Dutch, TV content.
Portuguese as well.
I don't know. Really, I don't know why certain nationalities have such a good propensity for English. But I do think that is part of it. It's generally sort of just instilling a curiosity from an early age. So to answer Ariful's question about movies in English, my answer is that if you are a movie lover, do that in English. If you're learning English, great, watch a movie in English. But be aware that often the quality of the language is not really, it's not going to be too advanced. I mean, it depends on the movie, obviously. But for example, if you're watching action movies and things like that, the range of vocabulary that you're going to learn is minimal. But that's not the only goal there, right? If you're passive learning, right, so you're watching a movie in English and you're not really actively writing things down, you're not actively paying attention to the vocabulary, there are benefits to that. It's training your brain to understand the tonality of English and the melody and intonation. There are lots of benefits and advantages to watching movies in English, even if you're not actively learning. But I would say don't just do that. If you're learning English, don't just rely on movies. Try and turn it, if you don't have time for anything else, try and turn that into an active learning process. For example, when you come across a new word or phrase in that movie, then pause it, write it down, write the sentence down that the word appeared in, maybe even make a note about pronunciation. And that way you're turning that into a more active learning process. You can learn quite a lot that way. And because if it's interesting, if you're enjoying the movie, your brain will maintain that knowledge for a little bit longer than if you were to just sort of go, oh, I don't know that word, and then just move on. So that would be my advice about using movies to learn English. But if you want to watch the content that you're learning English from, there are lots of resources out there where the quality of the vocabulary, the advanced sentence structures and the pronunciation, oftentimes, if that's what you're working on. TED Talks, one of them. Controversial. Some people love them, some people hate them, some people love the older ones before it got all salesy. But TED Talks, it's such a huge, deep archive of topics ranging from education to music to technology, all of these areas.
To Kids Against Plastic as well.
To Kids Against Plastic.
Yeah. I was pointing at the
that.
hat of Kids Against Plastic. They've got a couple. So. But
Uh-huh.
it's everything on
There you
TED
go.
Talks. Everything.
Yeah.
Whatever you
So
want to
many
learn
things.
about, you can learn about it.
You can learn about it, and there's an interactive transcript. Most of the time there is. I would say one thing, if I can go into some more about this. It's something that I often recommend to students. At a beginner level, you need to translate from your mother tongue quite often, right? That's part of the process. I get that. But once you're at a pre-intermediate level and above, you want to try and avoid the translating phase of the process, okay? There are several reasons why. One, if you are thinking in English and speaking in English, writing in English, without having that L1 translation, the translating from your mother tongue, you're going to be quicker at it. You'll be thinking quicker. The process will be smoother. You won't have to sit and think about what you're going to say as much. It might be a little bit to begin with. It might take a little while to get used to it, but eventually it will be beneficial. But also, if you're looking up a new English word in your language, you then miss out on such a wealth of information than if you look it up in an English dictionary. You've got example sentences, you'll learn the preposition that comes after the word, for example. You'll learn if it's a transitive or intransitive verb. And unfortunately or fortunately, English has a lot of words with many definitions. So if you're translating, you're just getting one definition, right? You're just getting one. So look it up in an English dictionary. Try to remove your native language from the process if you can, and it will generally make things a lot smoother.
I think for me, like with learning Spanish especially, I'm currently learning Portuguese. I'm on day 202 of Duolingo, but that's more of just a fun game thing. But I think for me, when learning Spanish, the massive moment was watching a movie. A lot of people talk about dreaming in Spanish or whatever. I don't remember what I dream in, but watching a movie and just completely understanding the whole thing. The movie was rubbish, but I understood the whole thing. And I was like, yes, I did it. I think the other biggest moment was I was standing in the shower, and I was thinking about a conversation I was going to have, as you do. My inner monologue was going, and I paused for a moment and I thought, I'm thinking about a conversation I'm going to have with somebody in English, but I'm thinking about it in Spanish. I was just like, that's weird, but that's so cool. I'm going to keep doing this. And I kind of stood there and just kept thinking about that conversation I was going to have in my head. So for me, that was a huge moment. I was delighted with that. Right, we've only got 2 minutes left. I don't know how we've only got 2 minutes left. Where's the time gone? What did you do, Lorraine? You've stolen all the time.
Have fun. That's what I did. Have fun, Harry.
It flew. I could do it on the radio, telly, and everything. Not just be there doing that. I'll tell you one thing that has been really weird about this is because other people can see us, obviously. Not being able to, do any weird scratching anywhere. I'm scratching my head for anyone on the radio, or
I have. Oops. I can't help it.
I haven't been fiddling with my hair. I haven't got any of that, have I? Forgot that. But it has been incredible. It's been so lovely to see you, to speak to you. My light is fading now, so
it's quite poetic.
Yeah, it is. It is. I should tell Thomas about that.
Yes, you should.
It's been absolutely glorious to have you on. It's been fantastic. I can't wait to continue to see how Intrepid English grows and helps and personalizes and just continues being awesome. Thank you so much.
Harry, thank you for having me on.
Always a pleasure. Oh, always a pleasure. Now I'm just trying to get the track